All right. Where do I begin? I don't know. How about here? It's not a debate. I mean, you can't just talk over each other, call each other names, make misleading declarative statements on top of each other about things that, for the most part, you can't control and really won't do because you don't have the power anyway. I mean, it's not a debate. It's just not a debate. Yeah, all right. It's not political. So we'll stick sports. I thought for sure I thought I was gonna be able to do something on bubbles, right, with the NBA and Major League Baseball and hockey, but they pretty much pulled it off. I mean, their bubbles were bubbles, right? I mean, I guess that's a bubble. NBA, NHL, MLB, nice job with the bubbles. But there were, speaking of baseball, Twins. I'm a Twins fan. They play well enough to make it to the playoffs again, and they lose three straight, and they successfully break the record for most consecutive losses in the playoffs ever by a major league sports team. Any team ever in any sport, 18 in a row in baseball. Who loses 18 in a row in baseball ever, let alone in the playoffs? That's not a playoff team. It's not a playoff team. Don't let them in anymore. They're not a playoff team. Just call it what it is. But yeah, that's not it. College football. So there's a number of ways that we can go with college football. Let's start with, it's not a top 25. I mean, last week, North Carolina's number 5 and Cincinnati's number 8. It's not a top 25. Coastal Carolina, North Carolina, and North Carolina State are all in the top 25. I mean, I know Coastal Carolina is technically in South Carolina, but I mean, really, do we need both North and South Carolina anyway? But 3 teams from Carolina and like 2 from Florida that are overrated. I mean, it's just not a top 25 because they don't have all the teams in there, right? Like, the Pac, whatever that, what is it, 12 over there? Like they're fairly irrelevant anyway. But without the Big Ten, I mean, it's not a season. It's not a season without the Big Ten. Now that they're starting to play, I guess you kind of call it a season, I guess. But geez Louise, how about that schedule that they handed Nebraska? That's a schedule. It's funny to me. Sorry, Andre, but yeah, that's a schedule. But say you got schedule, you got SEC, COVID, force them to get away from their tradition. It's not an SEC schedule. They have to actually play games for the most part every week without scheduling strategic cupcakes to allow them to get fat at the right time so they can, make their conference look actually a little bit better than it is. That's not an SEC schedule. I mean, we're not going to change that. LSU, I mean, come on, Bo Pelini. That's not a defense. It's not a defense. You can't give up 700 yards a game and call yourself a defense. It's not a defense. And Nick Saban, what? A positive COVID test, and 12 hours later it's done? I mean, call it what it is. That's a false positive COVID test. Words matter, and, we want everybody to be safe, but, that's not a positive COVID test. All right, but yes, it's not about anything else. It's about the game. So there have been no games. Let's just cut to the chase. So far this year, there have been no games. Entertaining football, but no games. And if we just talk about this week, there maybe would be one under consideration. There's a game between 2 storied franchises with 15 national championships between them. Michigan's got 9, Minnesota has 6. But let's look at it seriously. Michigan hasn't been relevant since the 90s, much like Nebraska. Minnesota hasn't been relevant since the 50s, trying to work their way back. So as much as, it's not a game. It's not a game. All right. It's been a long time since I did one of these. It's kind of fun again, but it's been a while. Glad college football's back. Big scheme of things. It's fun to watch and it's fun to have the game. So in that sense, right now, I'm grateful. Everything's a game. Everything's a game. I'll give you a pass this year, but I think we'll all agree that when this thing's over and we get back to normal, we're all going to look back and say, yeah, really, those were games. So there's nothing else to do. So watch college football because there's some games, but yeah, they're just not games.